seconding. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kuzna.
Thank you very much, Lord Provost, and my apologies to the Chamber for that minor change, which I'm glad we have been able to remedy. I'm also glad that Councillor Malik has a different interpretation of minor, perhaps 2 brackets and 1 Scotland, I think would be minor, but he is obviously entitled to his unique views. This is something that we discussed previously with the Chief Executive and with Mrs Lawson previously following a committee meeting. So it has been kind of, I think, a long-standing notice of motion that we had put in. What we want to be clear about, and what we were clear about the time at the committee, was we were not questioning the impartiality of the report. What we were questioning was the perception whereby, as elected members, we were in a position whereby a report author was also standing for election to Holyrood. We wanted to try and reduce down that risk so that there was no perceived view on impartiality whereby elected members were maybe sceptical about going to an officer for commentary because they were on one political party and their political position was known. So it's a quite simple, I think, notice of motion in this regard, that we want officers to again look at the process they have in place, because I think this was a kind of gap within the system, because this individual was not covered by the existing procedures because they were not in a position whereby they were perhaps regularly advising elected members, but they came before this committee and the question brings itself up as to whether elected members would feel comfortable going to somebody who has a clear political position. They are a member of a political party which is known to us and they are standing for election, which has not been something that I have come up against in my time in the Chamber, and I'm not sure whether others have had. So it is not about the impartiality of the advice. It is about the perceived question of going to someone who is standing for election, and we are aware of that and taking guidance from them, because not only does the report need to be impartial, there needs to be a perception of impartiality, which we have discussed with the Chief Executive and the legal team at the time. And a solution was reached for that committee meeting, yet the position remains that our guidance should be reviewed so that we can strengthen our pre-election guidance for officers. This is a benefit not just to elected members, Lord Provost, but also to our officers, so that they do not have any question about a perception of impartiality there. So I think it is a reasoned notice of motion. We are very clear that there was no question of the report being biased. It is more a question of this perception of impartiality or partiality. So we have noted within the report that the UK Civil Service takes a different position on this. That is more of a reference. I know it's brought out in a Labour amendment, but it's simply a reference to what else is done elsewhere. So we want officers to go back and look at the guidance that we have for officers to try and ensure that we don't have this position again whereby there is a question of the perception of partiality on an officer, because as elected members we need to be able to go to officers and take advice and not have any niggling feeling whether they are standing for elected position and whether that is going to colour their advice. So, Lord Provost, I think ultimately this is something I think that hopefully will get support broadly across the Chamber. We just want Council to again look at the advice that we have for officers so that we can strengthen it, both for the benefit of officers so the situation doesn't occur again, but also for us as elected members, that there is no risk of any perception of partiality within the relationship that we have with officers, which is key. So I hope in that spirit, Lord Provost, that colleagues will support me.